Let's starts now. The Last Sunrise. Scene 1. The Cold Open. The new king of the night. The sun had finally conquered the horizon. The ruins of the town were bathed in a beautiful, golden warmth that should have signaled the end of all suffering. For 1,000 years, the Demon Slayer Corp had prayed for this light, but as the dust settled, a new shadow stretched across the broken asphalt. Tanjiro Kamado sat in the center of the crater. His head was bowed, his long, dark hair shielding his face. The wounds on his body, the shattered ribs, the torn muscles, the poisoned eye, were closing at a speed that defied nature. His skin, once tanned by the mountain sun, was turning a ghostly, translucent pale. Scene 2, the awakening of the monster. Gyu Tomioka, the water Hashira, stood frozen. His broken sword hilt was still in his hand. He watched as Tanjiro's shoulders began to shake. A low, guttural growl vibrated through the air, a sound that didn't belong to the kind boy who always buried the dead. "Tanjiro?" Gyu's voice was a fragile whisper. Tanjiro looked up. His eyes were no longer the gentle, maroon eyes of a brother. They were slitted, glowing with a demonic, blood-red intensity. A single, jagged horn erupted from his forehead, and bone-like whips burst from his back, shimmering in the sunlight. The most terrifying part? The sun didn't burn him. Muzan's gamble had worked. By pouring all his cells and his will of destruction into Tanjiro, he had created the ultimate life form, a demon who could walk in the day. The Sun Breather had become the Sun Conqueror. "Everyone, stay back!" Gyu roared, his voice cracking. "Kill him! Kill him now while he is still confused! If he escapes this place, humanity is finished!" But no one moved. Inosuke was weeping behind his mask. Zenitsu was shaking so hard his teeth rattled. How could they kill the person who had saved them 100 times over? Scene 3. Nezuko's touch. Through the smoke and debris, a small figure appeared. It was Nezuko. She had run miles through the forest, her feet bleeding, her human heart pounding in her chest. She saw her brother, the monster, and she didn't see a threat. She saw her family. Oni-chan! Nezuko threw herself onto Tanjiro's back, her arms wrapping around his demonic neck. Tanjiro's bone whips lashed out, slicing through Nezuko's shoulder. Blood sprayed onto the ground, but she didn't let go. "Stop it! Please!" Nezuko sobbed, her face pressed against his cold skin. "Don't go away! Don't leave me alone again! We're going home! Tanjiro! We're going back to the mountains!" Tanjiro roared, a sound of absolute agony. Inside his mind, a war was raging. On one side was the dark, oily ocean of Muzan's hatred, telling him to consume everything. On the other side was a small, flickering candle, the memory of his mother's voice and the smell of charcoal. Scene 4. The World Within. In the spiritual realm of Tanjiro's consciousness, he was drowning in a sea of black blood. Muzan Kibutsuji's ghost stood above him, looking down with a sneer. "Give up, Tanjiro!" Muzan's voice echoed in the darkness. "Your friends are afraid of you. They want to kill you. Look at them. They are holding their swords. Only I understand your true potential. Together, we will rule this world for 10,000 years. You are the king of demons now." Tanjiro was sinking, his eyes closing. I hurt Nezuko. I am a monster." "Yes," Muzan whispered, leaning into his ear. "You are a monster, and monsters belong in the dark. Let the blood take you." But suddenly, hundreds of hands reached out from below. They weren't demonic hands. They were the hands of the fallen Hashira. Shinobu, Rengoku, Muachiro, Yome. They were pushing Tanjiro upward, away from the Black Sea. "Don't look down, Tanjiro!" Rengoku's voice was like a pillar of fire. "Look up! Look at the people who love you!" Scene 5, the final cure. Outside, Kanao Tsuyuri was crawling through the dirt. Her eyes were clouded, her body broken, but she was clutching a single glass vial. It was the last dose of the human transformation medicine that Tamayo and Shinobu had created. I have to reach him," Kanao whispered, using the flower breathing. Final form, she moved with the last bit of energy her heart could provide. She lunged through the storm of Tanjiro's whips. A blade pierced her side, but she didn't stop. She reached Tanjiro and slammed the needle into his neck. "Come back to us, Tanjiro!" she screamed as she collapsed. The medicine surged through Tanjiro's demonic veins. It was a chemical war, the poison of Muzan versus the hope of Tomeo. Tanjiro's body began to convulse, the bone whips shattered into dust. The red glow in his eyes began to flicker like a dying lamp. Scene 6, the dawn of humanity. 10 minutes passed in absolute silence. No one breathed. The sun was now high in the sky, illuminating the destruction of the town. Tanjiro's demonic features began to recede. The horn on his head crumbled. His skin regained its warmth. He slumped forward, his head resting on Nezuko's shoulder. Slowly, his eyes opened. They were no longer slitted. They were soft, maroon, and filled with tears. "Nezuko," he whispered, his voice barely audible. The silence was broken by a collective sob from everyone present. Inosuke threw his mask into the air, screaming at the top of his lungs. Zenitsu collapsed, wailing with relief. Gyu Tomioka, the man who never showed emotion, turned away and let a single tear fall into the dust. The 1,000-year war was over. The demons were truly gone. Scene 7. The Epilogue. Blue Spider Lilies. Weeks later, the world began to heal. The Demon Slayer Corps was officially disbanded. The survivors, the broken, the scarred, and the brave, went their separate ways. Tanjiro and Nezuko returned to their home in the mountains. The house was old and covered in dust, but it was theirs. They buried the swords. They planted flowers. They lived the life that their parents had dreamed of. In the final scene, we see a modern-day city. The legend of the Demon Slayers has become a myth, a story told to children. But in a quiet park, under a blooming wisteria tree, a group of teenagers who look remarkably like our heroes, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, Inosuke, are laughing together. The cycle of reincarnation has brought them back to a world of peace, a world where no one has to carry a sword, a world where the sun rises on a land without shadows. Scene 8, the happy ending and the final farewell. Tanjiro stands on a cliff, looking at the sunset. He is an old man now, surrounded by his grandchildren. He holds a small, dried blue spider lily in his hand. He looks at the sky and smiles, knowing that the sacrifices of the Hashira were not in vain. The wind carries a whisper of 100 voices saying, "Thank you." And so, the story ends. From the snow-covered mountains to the heart of the Infinity Castle, we have walked this path together. The blade that was forged in blood has finally been laid to rest in the light of a peaceful dawn. This has been the journey of Anime Audio Tales. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being part of this 4-part series. Your support, your comments, and your love for these characters are what keep the spirit of anime alive. If you were moved by this finale, please like this video as a tribute to the fallen Hashira. Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon if you haven't already, because while this story has ended, a new adventure is always just around the corner. Tell me in the comments, what was your favorite moment from this entire series? And which anime should we cover next in our cinematic audio format? Your voice matters to us. This has been Anime Audio Tales. The sun is risen, the demons are gone, and your story is just beginning. Stay brave, Slayers. Farewell. The end.